Anime typically sways towards the same type of villains, whether that be the misunderstood hero, the heartbroken civilian, or the vengeful wrong. But you don't normally see them as just plain evil. With Sukuna, he is that exactly. No real reason behind why he was evil, nor did he live with regret. Just pure chaos and enjoyment from the suffering of others. But that wasn't the only interesting thing about Sukuna. It was his ability to adapt. Sukuna is super crafty and made Batman level plans to execute his mission even with all the obstacles thrown his way. So I'd go as far and say Sukuna adapted better than Mahoraga. Now before you tell me that's dumb, let me explain. Mahoraga is a Shikigami from the 10 Shadows technique, and its entire spiel is adaptability. If the Shikigami isn't one-shotted, it adapts until it renders you and your techniques useless. Its entire being is adaptability, so how can Sukuna be better at it? Well, from the very beginning, Sukuna has shown his high IQ and crafty mindset. When he was first released, he was shown to be this evil entity that wanted to massacre everything, but was ultimately embarrassed by Gojo. Sukuna was shocked to see someone of Gojo's caliber was in a new era he awoke in. So from the minute he realized Gojo would be his biggest obstacle, he had to make plans to remove him from the board. With Yuji being in prison for him, it made it difficult for Sukuna to do anything, but he found a way. When Yuji let Sukuna take control of his body to fight the special grade, Sukuna immediately took this as an opportunity and made the best of it. He fought Megumi and saw the potential in him with his 10 Shadows technique, and it was during this fight that Sukuna knew who his next host would be. Sukuna rips out Yuji's heart to ensure that he can force him into a binding vow. The binding vow stated that if Sukuna beat Yuji, he would be able to take over his body for a short period of time, but the rules also stated that he wouldn't hurt anyone during this time, and Yuji would have no memory of making this vow. Yuji naively agreed to be brought back to life, but was defeated instantly. Now Sukuna has this in his back pocket, and no one but him even knows. This is the Batman level planning Sukuna has done to try and secure victory. After this, he pretty much stays dormant right up until Jogo force-fed Yuji fingers and he completely embarrasses him. Sukuna showcases his adaptability skills by violating Jogo and then finishing him with Fuga, an unheard of technique similar to his, in order to show him that he was never a match for him. Then he senses Mahoraga's presence in Shibuya and goes to investigate. He finds Megumi near death and Mahoraga, the Shikigami that caused it. Because Megumi piqued his interest, he chose to keep him alive and fight Mahoraga. And to his surprise, he has not died and is putting up a sensible fight. Once Sukuna discovered Mahoraga's ability, it became clear that Megumi was the person he needed to accomplish his goals. He opens his domain and Mahoraga is tanking it, but at this point, Sukuna understands that the way to beat him is with extreme destructive power and hits him with a Fuga. From here on, Sukuna's only goal is to escape Yuji's body and take over Megumi's, because he knows it's the best chance he'll get at defeating Gojo. And once again, Sukuna proves he's a masterful planner. Following the events of the Shibuya incident, Kenjaku is setting up the Culling games, where sorcerers from all eras compete against each other, and Yorozu introduces herself to Megumi and Yuji. She was a sorcerer from the Heian era who also knew Sukuna. It was at this point that Sukuna used the binding vow he set with Yuji to take over his body. After taking over Yuji's body, Sukuna breaks off one of his fingers and force feeds Megumi a finger to manifest in his body and take over. Now all the planning that Sukuna has been doing has come to fruition, and he is now in control of the 10 Shadows technique. Sukuna had this plan from the first few chapters and executed it by being patient and waiting for the right opportunity. Once again, showing his adaptability in the new era to plot against the strongest, Gojo. This isn't even the best display of Sukuna's patience. My theory is that he conspired with Kenjaku 1,000 years ago in the Heian era to divide his fingers into 20 curse objects, all because he was bored with solitude. He was the king of curses after all, sitting at the top with no challenges. So when Kenjaku approached him with the merger plan, Sukuna agreed in hopes of fighting stronger curses and sorcerers, which also ties back to why Yuji was able to contain him. It's because Sukuna's brother he ate in the womb reincarnated as Yuji's father, and Kenjaku searched for centuries to find a suitable host for Sukuna until he met Jin Itadori. He took over Kaori Itadori's body to create Yuji, the perfect vessel for Sukuna, by sealing a finger inside him from birth. So although this was mostly Kenjaku's work, I'm sure Sukuna had some parts in the execution. And now that he has the 10 Shadows in his arsenal, he can complete his plan, which is the merger. It's no secret that with Mahoraga, Sukuna was virtually unstoppable. He defeated Yorozu, who had enough destructive power to destroy the planet with the help of Mahoraga, just showing that the adaptability is a trait that they both share. But the real test is with the strongest of this era, and that's Gojo Satoru. Sukuna with little time was able to not only summon 2 Shikigami at once, but also combined the power of multiple Shikigami to create Agito, using every resource he has to battle Gojo. It was a long battle, and Gojo was able to get the best of Sukuna and his Shikigami multiple times, but Sukuna's adaptability has allowed him to get the upper hand again. Sukuna's shrine was the only domain able to compete with Gojo's Infinite Void. During the effects of the Infinite Void, he was still able to summon Mahoraga. Gojo, being a complete dog, fights 1 versus 3, and looks like he has the fight in the bag again. Sukuna, weakened by a hollow purple, is standing there basically in pieces, and Gojo is standing on the other side unscathed, smiling, right until we realize he let off a world-cutting slash, an ability that cuts through space itself, bypassing infinity. He took this move from Mahoraga and combined it with his own technique, but to activate it, he had to use his hands and aim it while chanting. This way was way too slow to catch Gojo because it telegraphs exactly what he was looking to do. But with his hands blown off from the hollow purple, he had no way of making the sign to cast it. So to get past this, Sukuna made a binding vow to cast it without either of those requirements, which is the only way he was able to catch Gojo off guard. This is where Sukuna displayed his creativity with binding vows, constantly using them to defeat his opponents. With the defeat of Gojo, Sukuna decides to take on his original Heian era form and is no longer able to use the 10 Shadows technique, but that still didn't stop him from stomping on the remaining Culling Games players. Sukuna was able to successfully defeat Higurama and Kashima with ease, the King of Curses displaying his abilities outside of the 10 Shadows technique. With Gojo now dead, the main objective is to separate Megumi and Sukuna. They tried multiple times with Angel's Jacob's Ladder, but Sukuna just keeps tanking it. Sukuna is successfully completing the Sorcerer Gauntlet, beating Maki, Angel, and Yuta in the process. Right when it's looking hopeless, Toto appears with the Vibra Slap, and he took him for a spin. Toto's Vibra Slap made it incredibly difficult to keep up. Along with Yuji's soul cutting dismantles, they were shaking up Sukuna's soul, but Sukuna wouldn't be so highly regarded of if such a simple technique beat him. Sukuna puts Toto out of commission, and it's now up to Yuji to fight him alone. He's shocked by Yuji's durability, but in reality, Sukuna was just toying with him because he thinks so little of him. And as he's fighting Yuji, Yuta takes over Gojo's body with Rika's technique, and Sukuna embarrasses him. Yuta's lack of control is evident, and Sukuna easily beats him, leaving him out of commission once again. Although Yuta wasn't the best with Gojo's body, it still shows how Sukuna has already adapted to Gojo's techniques. And it's right back to Yuji to defeat Sukuna again. Sukuna is extremely weakened from a hollow purple, multiple black flashes, Jacob's Ladder, and Infinite Void, but he's still able to keep up with Yuji. But because of these attacks, Sukuna is unable to expand his domain. So Yuji expands his own, and Sukuna is forced to talk with Yuji, buying time for Nobara to disrupt his soul with the Renaissance. On top of that, Megumi is now fighting back, and Yuji's using soul-crushing punches to free him. In the end, Sukuna is beaten and separated from Megumi, and that concludes his 40+ chapter gauntlet run. Time and time again, Sukuna was able to adapt to any situation he was in, but in the end, he was defeated because of his hate and underestimation for Yuji. Many think that Sukuna is done for, but with the panel of his finger, I think his return is coming. After 271 chapters, he was the only character to overcome every obstacle. An argument can be made that it was only because Gege took a liking to him, but that's neither here nor there. Sukuna is a villain that did what he wanted with his own selfish goals in mind. This allowed him to be a great villain and unlike anything we have seen before. He was truly the king of adaptability. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.